What's this? 2 BigRiggBlues videos in one night? Can it be? Yeah, actually. I wanted to answer a question because if I didn't, I might get my head bit off. Unfortunately, it's not the one you're probably expecting. That's coming along tomorrow or the next day, I'm not sure. The question I wanted to answer was from ACanThis123. They asked what my hobbies and interests were. Well, interests I can answer. Hobbies, that's a little more, that's hard to answer. You see, I'm a geek. Well, in the old days, a geek was someone who ate live animals in the circus. Well, nowadays, at least in America, it means something a little different. Basically, it means someone who is dedicated to something that's not necessarily embraced by the mainstream of society. Say that 10 times fast. Essentially, it's someone who, like myself, has interests that not everybody else has, and that a lot of people misunderstand because of that. I guess it's just time to get started. Firstly, I'm a comic book geek. Since, well, as long as I can remember, I've read comic books. Every Wednesday, I go to the comic book store. I go buy new comics every Wednesday. I spend way too much money on comic books and comic book related merchandise such as graphic novels and, well, action figures. I'd rather buy statues, but those are more expensive. It's talking $7 versus $70. So, you know, you tell me. So yeah, I'm a comic book geek. Secondly, I'm a movie geek. I love movies. I've got, I don't know, somewhere around 200 to 250 movies. I've lost count. I've developed my own system of genres. I have the classics, but I have what I call new classics. Movies that came out within a certain time period that I think will last for many generations to come. Movies like Hook or Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, The Goonies, Sleepy Hollow, The Muppet Movie, Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pirates of the Caribbean. Movies like this that they don't really fit into any specific genres necessarily. But they're movies that everyone's going to remember, I think, for decades. I have horror movies. I'm a big horror movie fan. That's horror. H-O-R-R-O-R. But not for the same reasons. I'm not really as into the old slasher and cut-em-up movies. I've really taken more of a liking to the older stuff that was really, well, nowadays they call it suspense, but really it was what true horror was. I've recently grown to love old movies with Vincent Price in them. I like the old monster movies, you know, Frankenstein and Dracula, The Mummy, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Wolfman, you know, Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, and Bela Lugosi. Geniuses. I mean, honestly. You know, I have some drama movies I like, but they have other aspects that appeal to me other than just the drama. Most of the time, most so-called drama movies are over-dramatic. They're melodramatic, more likely. Just, it's ridiculous. I like comedy movies. However, most modern comedy movies I'm not a big fan of. I don't really think Will Ferrell's the most talented comedian out there. I think Steve Carell could be, but we haven't really seen him come out of his shell yet. Honestly, I like movies from, well, the 80s, the 70s, as far as comedy goes. You know, stuff that starred like the old stars of Saturday Night Live, the first cast, you know, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, John Belushi. Oh, you know, that guy's a genius. At least he was. He died my 2nd birthday. And being a comic book fan, I'm also a fan of pretty much any movie that's adapted from a comic, which in the movies they call them graphic novels. Well, they're not all graphic novels as people in the comic book world call them, you know. My most recent movie purchase, V for Vendetta, with this tiny little Guy Fawkes mask. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. especially when they're wearing tiny masks that don't actually fit their face. Those people might be crazy. We should fear them. Oh yes, and let's also fear filmmakers who impose their own political views into other people's visions. They should be feared. And probably punished. Thirdly, well, quite honestly, I'm a computer geek. I knew my senior year of high school that I wanted to be a computer programmer. Something about it just appeals to me. It allows me to be creative and technical at the same time. It's interesting. Another thing I do, and this is coming up in a video that's not too long away, every year I work in a haunted house. I'm not sure if this custom translates across all cultures the same, but in America, what a haunted house is essentially, it's an attraction where people go, they walk through, and they go through these little scenes. They go in to be scared, not out to incite pure terror and traumatize themselves, but in a fun way. They go in to be scared, to be entertained by fright. It's one of these things where it's hard to explain because unless you actually see it in action, you don't understand it. It's probably the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. I'm ready to do it again, even though I don't know if this will be my last year or not. I hope not. Finally, something I've grown to love to do. You're watching it. The last couple weeks, I've started doing these YouTube videos, and it's really amazing how well I enjoyed this. I never thought that doing this kind of thing was ever going to be something that I would do. I mean, I figured that doing this would be the last thing I would do because I don't really put myself out there too much. I mean, granted, there's a bit of anonymity to this, which may make it easier for me to do it, but most of the time in person, I'm not so open with stuff as I am on this. I mean, my personality characteristics are the same, but the stuff I'll talk about, nowhere near as serious. I don't know. Maybe it's me. But seriously, folks, you guys are all awesome. I've gotten, subscribers recently that it's boggled my mind. I don't know why you people are watching me. I'm glad you are, though, seriously. It just shows that maybe I'm doing something that other people can relate to. And that's a totally awesome thing. Thank you again. Goodbye.